Hey folks, this is the second part of our Space Haven tutorial. If you haven't checked out the first part, make sure to check it out. I'll put the link below in the description. Let's jump back into our game that we have ongoing here, and today we're going to cover turning your space platform that you begin with into a working ship, and we're also going to cover exploring derelicts. We're going to start with a derelict. Now, I have 4 crew members that I have already selected. They all are armed with pistols that I picked up from storage. They all have a good negative surrender percent, so they're not going to panic when they face aliens. And some of them have some pretty good weapon skill. Before I send my crew members over to a derelict ship, I also want to check the yellow bar. There are 3 status bars that the crew members have that are important to their immediate well-being. The first is their hit points. They're at max hit points. The second is their energy. This is an important one for exploring derelicts because when an alien hits you, it's going to take away your energy first. And if your energy bar goes all the way down, your guy's going to get knocked unconscious. So even if they're at full health, your guy can get taken out by alien enemies if their energy bar is empty. In order to max out our energy bar, we want to make sure our crew is well rested. And we probably don't want to go in hungry, but everybody's just eaten recently, so I think we're good. So I'm going to draft here. This gets our guys out of bed. I'm going to right-click on the shuttle and then choose the Enter Craft option. Okay. Now I'm going to left-click on the shuttle to select it. And I have options to dock here. Now I can left click on one of these points to dock at the designated point, or I can click on the docking button down here, and then I can zoom in and choose a custom docking location. I want to go with here. Now, usually their options are you can either enter in an airlock or you can enter from one of these breaches in the hull. I usually prefer to enter from breaches in the hull because they give me more visibility to any enemies that might be on board the ship, whereas if I'm coming out of the airlock, they might be right on top of me by the time I get in there. Okay. And again, I've also got my command groups set up, so I can press 1. Needs to work just like in Command & Conquer or StarCraft or one of those games. Just gonna sit here. Now the aliens, we're floating on a section of empty, broken hull here, so the aliens actually can't reach us. Let's be a little bit more aggressive. Okay. So far, none of our guys have been injured. Okay, we got a couple bites here. So notice as Woodrow is taking some damage, he's got a monster bite debuff, which makes him have problems later. He's taking a little bit of hit point damage, but more importantly, he's taking energy damage, so he's at risk of being unconscious. There's also a status effect called bleeding that can be inflicted, and if that happens, you usually need to send your crew members to rest or figure out how to get them some medical attention. Medical attention is tough to come by in the early game. Did we clear this area? We're going to go through the ship, clearing area by area. If I want to, like, line up in front of a door and then open it, I can manually tell one of my crew members to open or close the door. Otherwise, they'll just walk through it normally. And we want to explore all of the dark areas of the ship to make sure that everything's revealed. If we hit Alt here, the left Alt key, we can see that some of these areas are windows. You can see here there's a window tile, so we can actually see through to what's on the other side here. Those can be very useful for boarding actions so that we know what kind of threats are coming up ahead. So here we can see already into the lab, even though we've only just got one guy starting to walk in there. You also want to keep an eye on our oxygen bars. The blue bars here are the blue bar over the crew here is their oxygen level. So when this starts to get low, they'll start to take health and energy damage and eventually fall unconscious. We have an airlock here. You can right-click on the airlock and then click this to take oxygen. You can also give oxygen to another crew member even if they're unconscious. So if I left-click on one of my guys here, I can right-click and say give oxygen, and then they'll split the remaining oxygen between the 2 guys. That's very useful in cases where you have somebody who's like wounded, unconscious, and has a lot of damage. So once I've taken over the ship here, I'll get that blue banner that you saw a second ago saying that the ship is all clear. I want to undraft my guys here and I also want to make sure that the shuttle is undrafted. And then I can zoom out to the tactical view, click on the ship in the tactical view, and then transfer whatever goods I find here. This is a really great haul. We found a couple early tech blocks, which are super helpful for building more advanced buildings. We also found a little bit of energy, which is nice, although that won't help us until later when we get our upgraded generator. And we found some corpses and human meat that we can compost later in order to get additional water supplies. So we're going to take those on board as well. We also, if we look at the salvage tab, we have the option of pulling apart the ship bit by bit and picking up scrap that we can use in the recycler. Soft scrap is used to produce the soft blocks, which are used for furniture. Infra scrap is used to produce infra blocks, which are used for basically everything. Tech scrap is used to produce infra blocks and also electronics components, which are used for certain things like repairing the shuttle when it gets damaged or repairing the mining pods. And they're also used to manufacture more infra blocks and other things. Energy scrap is used to create more blue crystals, but it also produces infra blocks, and hull scrap is used to create more hull blocks that you can use to expand your ship. Since this is our first derelict, we don't have any scrap on board, we're going to take everything here. So I want to check everything that the crew is going to dismantle, and then the crew is going to start going through the ship and taking stuff apart, and then these other set of boxes on the right here determine which resources of the stuff that they took apart gets transferred. So like, for example, if the crew takes apart the hyperdrive here, this might produce some infra scrap and some infra scrap and some tech scrap. So I could, if I didn't want the infra scrap, I could turn this off and just get the tech scrap, for example. But in this case, I'm taking everything. We're going to speed up a little bit. Let's see how our food supply. Our food supply is not terribly high. We're going to have to figure that out soon. We do have an algae dispenser here. The algae dispenser is going to provide sort of a temporary short-term supplemental food supply for the crew. The algae dispenser is sort of toxic though, so crew members build up this toxicity over time, and eventually they'll start getting debuffs and they'll get sick, and they'll start to starve if they live only on algae from the dispenser. So we want to make sure that we eventually get them a food supply. We're in the midst of expanding the aft section of our ship here, or our station here. And this is eventually going to be the ship parts once we get that built. Let's watch them do some dismantling. So they're going to dismantle this using the construction skill. They're going to dismantle these individual pieces and to convert them into blocks. And then they're going to do logistics tasks to bring them back over the airlock to be transferred to the other ship. One thing to note that's useful is that this blue bar at the top of the airlock here shows how much oxygen the airlock is currently charged with. The airlock will automatically draw oxygen from the surrounding environment if there is any, and then shuttles, when they dock with an airlock, they'll either pick up oxygen if they're not full, or they'll offload oxygen if the airlock is empty. So each time the shuttle is coming over to the derelict ship, it'll charge that airlock with oxygen, and then that store of oxygen is available to the crew members to recharge their suits. Okay, so we got a little bit of hull built here, and I made this 4 wide so that we can fit a hyperdrive. Let's put in some power for a hyperdrive. Hyperdrives don't use a ton of power, oddly enough, so we are going to go with something like that. The other thing that we need in order for our ship to work is a hull stabilizer. So there are 3 main components that make a working ship. There's the hyperdrive, there's the hull stabilizer, which is this guy, and that provides hit points to your ship. Basically, each hull stabilizer you build is worth 50 hit points. And then there's the navigation console, which you need in order to fly the ship. Let's see if we can fit that in here somewhere. Doesn't look like we have room. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up this front section here, and this is going to be our bridge for now. Okay, so we got that. Let's take a look at our power coverage, and we're going to need power for the bridge as well. And if we want, we can put in some lights to make it more comfortable. The other thing that we can do is we can put in windows that allow light in from the stars outside. Let's do that because I think it's kind of stylish. So let's put in some big windows along the front of the ship here. And we'll put in some little windows along the side of our bridge. Windows prevent you from mounting other things on the wall, like wall power nodes or lights, but they do provide light on their own, and they're useful for like putting stuff in behind machines where you wouldn't be able to put a wall-mounted item anyway, like behind the bridge thing here, for example. Now we don't have any infra blocks, so we're not able to finish our navigation console construction. At this point, we could dismantle stuff in order to free up infra blocks because we can't live ultimately without the navigation console, but we also have some scrap coming on board. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the recycler and start building up some infra scrap. Here we have the ratio of production here, so each infra scrap process produces half a unit of infra blocks. So if I put in, let's say, 6 infra scrap, it's going to produce 3 infra blocks. Here, I don't want to end up with a fraction of a unit of energium crystals, so I'm going to wait until we have 6 energium crystals, which is the amount that you need to produce a whole crystal, of 6 scrap, rather. And here we have enough to produce another whole block, so we're going to queue that as well, with the 4 whole scrap. Tech scrap, we don't have a lot of electronics components, but we also don't have 4 scrap yet, so we're going to wait on that. And we don't have enough soft scrap to produce a whole block yet either. The other thing we could do if we need to save infra blocks in a hurry is we could start eliminating some doors. Let's eliminate this door for now, because each door costs an infra block. And I think we can eliminate this door, or maybe... yeah, these doors aren't essential to the crew comfort, so we can eliminate them in order to make infra blocks available for immediate use. Okay, so we got the message saying hull stability is achieved. We're building the navigation console and the hyperdrive. It says it wants us to build 2 hyperdrives. I think we can get away with one for right now. Let's see. We do have enough tech blocks to build a second one, so it might be worthwhile to do that. Let's link this. And we have no available connections on our generator here, so we might have to build multiple new nodes. Let's see. I'm just going to try moving this and see if we can... That does reach. We already have this connected through here, so let's disconnect this and connect it that way. I think that makes sense. Yeah. Can I connect? That doesn't reach here. That's okay. Okay, so we have our hull stability. Got our hyperdrive coming online. We don't have enough infra blocks right now to build a second hyperdrive. I'm debating whether we should wait for the infra blocks to be produced. It only takes 2, and we also have the hull blocks and the tech blocks. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. So we're going to produce a second hyperdrive here. Should be about like that. Now you can fly the ship on a single hyperdrive. This ratio up here will show you your hyperdrive to mass ratio. You need a certain number of hyperdrives to fly the ship based on your ship's total mass, which is based on, the hull blocks and the stuff that you have on board and everything. When this gets built and the nav console gets built, we're going to see that this number up here updates. Okay, so see, we have 1541 out of 800 mass. That means we're overweight. We can still fly the ship once the nav console is finished, but we're going to be spending extra fuel basically because the ship is too heavy. If we build a second hyperdrive, we can mitigate that and save fuel, which is our green crystals here. We don't start out with a lot of fuel in harsh difficulty, so let's see if we can get that second hyperdrive online. Let's see. We're still producing infra blocks from scrap. We're going to produce 2 more there. I think by the time we're done all these industry jobs, this uses the industry skill, by the way, the recycler. By the time we're done all these industry jobs, we should have enough infra blocks to finish this construction. We can check here our transfer tab and our salvage tab. These will show as none once all the scrap is collected. So we're still in the process of collecting scrap right now. Having some power outages here. I'm trying to figure out why that is. I think it's because the recycler just uses too much power. So this is an issue that we have with industry machines, is they just use up a lot of power. We're consuming 9.9 power units per second here if you look at our power graph. We're generating 9.9 and we're consuming 8.7, but the recycler is not currently running. When it runs, it's going to go over that, and the only extra power that we have is whatever is stored in this node. We can try to mitigate that by introducing another large node for storage, so we can kind of build up excess power in these nodes when it's not currently being used. We have a critical shortage of hull blocks, so we're going to have to kind of scrape and scrabble and see if we can find some more as we go through our journey here. But for now, we're just waiting mainly for this to be done, which means we gotta get one more infra block produced and get this constructed. And then I think we're ready to leave the sector because we've already got all the resources that are here, except for this tiny little bit of infra scrap. I think because we don't have any infra blocks right now, it's worth it to wait until we're done picking up infra scrap before we leave the sector. So notice now, it's telling me to build an operations console. Operations console is useful for trading with other factions. It gives you an opportunity to trade extra resources that they need. Like if you have a resource that the other faction needs, they might call you and say, I need this specific resource and I'll pay you extra for you to trade me that. So you can get some good early trades that way. Operations console is not that essential though in the early game. In harsh difficulty, I tend to avoid building it, but it's up to you if you want to build one based on your current resources. So it does come in handy later when you add sensor station to the ship. And it's also useful for getting ceasefires and stuff like that if you're attacked by pirates. Our crew's mostly idle here. Let's see if there's anything we can build. I think the thing that we should be looking to build now is a research lab. How is our... Oh, let's get this linked into the grid. There we go. So this is just going to be excess energy storage. So now we have, instead of having 150 units of power available for recycling, now we have like 300 units available from the start of the day when everything's recharging overnight when it's not in use. Let's produce, we're actually almost out of soft blocks, so let's produce 2 more soft blocks. And we're going to produce 2 more infra blocks as well. We have enough hull scrap now to produce 1 hull block. And we still don't have enough energy or tech scrap. So we can get that going. The other thing I want to try to do, if we can possibly afford it, is get a research station online. Research station is in the facilities menu, and that gives us access to research. We're going to put that on the bridge for now. That'll be like our science station. That gives us the ability to upgrade our stuff and get access to more things like grow beds and weapons and medical facilities and shields and other manufacturing capabilities. We have an android ship coming in this sector, so since we're still scrapping here, I think we're going to wait until they come in the sector. Ships coming into your starting sector can be a really great opportunity if you're willing to spare a couple resources and maybe scrabble a little bit in the early game. You can get some really good value and get kind of a head start on your gameplay if you get an opportunity to trade early in the sector. So we can see from this icon up here that the incoming ship is friendly because it would be red if it was hostile, or friendly or neutral, I should say. If we hover over this, we can see which faction it is. Here it's the Android Collective. We can see a relationship, and we can see how many hours until they get into the sector, which is pretty useful information. Let's cancel. I'm gonna put off the soft scrap and hull scrap until after we've done the infra block that we need to get our research facility online. Okay, so here's our opportunity to trade. We're trading with the ACS Glory's Fall. Now notice that I haven't built an operations console here. Operations console gives you like bonuses to trading, but it's not required to trade. I can just go to the tactical view and click on the trade button once the ship is selected, and then I can initiate a trade here. The stuff on the left is my inventory. This is what I have on board my ship currently. And the stuff on the right here is the stuff that the other ship has for sale. Let's check our fundamental resources. So the three things that you always need are hyperfuel, Hyperium crystals, energy, which is the energium crystals, and water, which is these guys. So we have plenty of water because we have ice, and ice converts into water at a rate of, I think, something like 1 ice block is 5 water units. So we're good on that for a while. We don't need to buy water. For energium, we're okay for right now. We could maybe stand to buy some more, but we don't have to. And for Hyperium, we're a little bit low, but we're on the okay side for now. Looking at the resources they have, I don't see anything here that we immediately need. Some infra blocks would be kind of useful, but they're also expensive at this point in the game because we don't have much to trade in exchange. Let's see. So I could trade away like some medical supplies actually because we can't use them without a medical facility. They're pretty useless to us at the beginning of the game. So we're going to sell a couple medical supplies for an infra block and a little bit of spending cash. Hopefully the civilian ship might have something really awesome like tech blocks that we can buy, and that'll speed up our gameplay. Let's take a look at our salvage. We're still working on infra scrap, so we're going to be in this sector for another day, it looks like. Now, notice we're a little bit overweight again. It kind of fluctuates depending on the cargo and stuff that we have on board. It's okay if we're kind of borderline. Okay, and we're bringing our research facility online here. We also have a civilian ship now in the sector. God's Mighty Angel. Let's trade with them. Let's see. They have some extra ice, which we could buy if we wanted, but we don't really need to. They don't have the one thing I'm really looking for, which is tech blocks. So I don't think we're going to buy anything from them right now. We could sell the human meat. We might want to keep that as kind of an emergency ration, but I think it usually doesn't make sense to use it. Probably makes more sense to sell it, unless you're really desperate. These guys are giving us 75 credits for the human meat, so let's sell it here for 75 credits. Okay, we got our research facility online. Now we can click on the Research New Technology button to open up the research tree. So each one of these things, the green is stuff that we already have, the blue is stuff that we can research right now, and the red is stuff that we have to work up the tech tree in order to unlock. So for example, if we wanted to research an energy refinery, we first have to research the advanced thing, which increases our research speed and enables access to the second tier of items here. Some of the things have multiple requirements. So for the advanced assembler, for example, I need to research advanced, then optronic, then assembler, then advanced assembler. You can click on each one of these things and read a description of what it does here. Eventually by the end of the game, you'll probably have all of them. There's also a cost to the research. The number here, the green is how much basic research you need. The yellow is how much intermediate research you need. And the red for these advanced things is how much advanced research you need. The research type determines sort of the difficulty. So people with a low research skill can still produce basic research effectively, but they might struggle with the advanced research. And they might have to do multiple tries in order to produce an advanced research unit, whereas people with research 3 are more likely to have success. So the research will go faster if you have somebody with a higher skill. Our starting options here, we have weapons, consoles, and shields. I don't think those are super essential in the very early game. Autopsy table, this would enable us to get medical facilities. I'm going to avoid that for now. The real interesting options for me are we can either go the manufacturing route, metal refinery, assembler, we can go the upgraded generator route to conserve energy, which is often a good choice depending on how much energy you have. So we can go advanced and then power generator and energy refinery. Or we can start working on grow beds. Since we're already out of food, I think we're going to get some basic grow beds first. And that'll be our first research project. And this only costs 40 basic research, so it shouldn't take us too long here. So we clicked on research. Now we'll see that this becomes a job that our research people start working on. Having multiple research stations can speed up the process, but only if you have multiple people available who have the skill. We can't afford multiple stations right now in any case. Okay, so at this point, we've gathered all the resources in the sector, I think, and we are ready to launch. We're going to go to the Systems menu, and I'm going to click on the Prepare for Jump. Now when I do this, it's not going to enable us to jump right away. When I unpause it, the navigator is going to walk to the navigation station, and then you can see there's this progress bar as they prepare for jump. If there's an issue with the jump, like your hyperdrive is offline because your power conduit got damaged or something like that, you'll see that shown here, and you can hover over it to see what the nature of the problem is. All right, so we're charged. Here goes our first jump. Okay, so immediately we have another derelict ship. So looking around our starting sector here, each of these branches is one sector that we can go to. The sector ahead of us here, this is an empty sector. There's no reason for us to stop there because there's nothing in it. If we double click on the sector that we're currently in, or click the drop, that'll enable us to drop into this sector and start picking up resources. Up here we have a legend that shows us what all the different icons are. The icon that we're sitting on top of now is a derelict ship. You can recognize it from this diamond with the slash through it. Some other icons that are interesting. These are the various resource icons that you can collect. Carbon can be useful for grow beds. Hyperium and energium we've talked about. Ice is used to produce water. The other resources are used for various types of manufacturing that we'll get to later in the game. Looking around us here, I'm looking for the red icons. This icon over here means that there's a space station. So after we've collected some resources and maybe done some manufacturing or something, we should check out this station and look for opportunities to trade to get more stuff. We also have some raw chemicals available here. Let's drop into another derelict. Okay, now when I drop into the sector, I can left click and drag to position my ship anywhere I want in the sector, as long as I'm not overlapping something else. Let's place it as close as possible to the derelict ship so we can easily get our crew members on and off the ship in the event of a problem or when we're working on salvage. Now that everybody's here, I'm going to take my away team. I'm going to right click and send them on the shuttle. Left click, and then I'm going to send them to the hull breach. Okay, and one thing I didn't mention is you have to left click on the shuttle and then click on the little icons next to the crew members to get them to disembark. A lot of times what people will do at this point is they'll right click over here and then they'll get annoyed because the shuttle will start to fly away. This is because you still have the shuttle selected. After you disembark your crew, you want to make sure that you select the crew members instead of the shuttle in order to command them. Okay, this is a data log. This adds to our list of backstory things that we can read up here. Okay, we have no aliens on board. Looks like we have some resources that we can pick up. This pop-up, by the way, gives you information about how to do the salvage. We've covered that already, but you can read this if you forget and need a reminder. And we undraft the shuttle. Let's see what we got here. We got some water. That's nice. Got some food. That's very helpful. Some hull blocks, a little bit of energy, and some soft blocks. We also have a bunch more scrap that we can pick up, so we're going to pick up all of that. Now, if I'm in a hurry to get this done, I can click on this expedited checkbox, and that will raise the priority of the salvage operations. So the crew members will give up all their other shipboard tasks and all come over and focus on this, more or less. I can also control, if I want to have certain crew members that always stay on board my ship, I can go to crew management and then go to the ships menu, and I can right-click on one of these guys if I want to prevent them from ever working on derelict ships. Let's set it up so that since the shuttle can only fit 4 crew members, let's set it up so that we only have 4 people that work on derelicts in case there's an emergency and we need to leave in a hurry. Looking at our priorities, we want somebody who's good at construction. We want at least one botanist eventually to stay on board. This is going to be our chief botanist, Woodrow. We're going to prioritize mining for Eden. We're going to prioritize construction for Elaine. And then industry is going to be prioritized for Lenny here. So you can left-click to increase these or right-click to decrease them to affect your crew's behavior of these individual tasks. So this is how they decide which job to do next based on their skills and the priority. So with that being figured out, my key construction guy is Elaine, so I want him to work on derelicts. And let's also have Catherine. She's not specializing in anything. We're going to have her specialize in logistics. Everybody can do logistics. Their skill is always one. It's just carrying boxes from one end of the ship to the other. So we're going to have Catherine and Elaine be our salvage people. We're trying to eliminate people, right? So Woodrow is not going to be salvage, and Lenny, who's our industry person, is not going to be salvage. So we're going to right-click on that, and we're going to right-click on that to keep these guys off of the derelict when we start working on the salvage. So notice we got 2 guys in the mining pods, and we got 2 other people on board doing logistics. Let's check our industry and make sure we have some jobs queued here. So we're going to get some more infra blocks because we're pretty much out of those. We're going to get like 1 or 2 more hull blocks. That's 2 more hull blocks. Still don't have enough energy scrap to produce anything. And we'll get 1 more soft block. Now notice there's a little bit of a green haze forming here. The reason that the game wants you to build a spacesuit door outside your recycler is because of this haze. This is a hazardous gas. If I hit R here and click on the hazardous gases view, we can see that there's some buildup here. It's not a lot, but it's enough to affect the health of your crew if they're not wearing a spacesuit in this area. We could mitigate that with a gas scrubber in the life support section here. But we're kind of limited on resources right now because we're playing on harsh difficulty, so I'm not going to do that right away. We're going to let that gas build up for a while, and then we're eventually going to install a scrubber when we have some more blocks. So now that we have one spare infra block, I think I'm going to reinstall that door that I deleted earlier. The importance of this door is to separate the ship into multiple sections. You want the ship to have sealed compartments so that you can control damage. If I hit R here and go to the vents view, you can see how we can open and close vents in order to allow gas in the different areas. And we can left-click on one of these sections to test how the gas flows through that area. If I shut off these vents, and then click again. Oops, we're still missing one here. If I shut off these vents, we can see that the gas is now contained to that area. So if there's a hull breach in that area, only that section will be affected as long as the vents are closed. We want our ship to be built out of many small sections that are separated by walls and doors, so that it's easy to contain damage when there's a meteor shower or something. I also noticed that we have a gap here. A diagonal like this means that the gas will still flow out of that room, so we need to make sure that we have a wall in this spot to prevent that. There we go. We have 3 ships coming into the sector. Now we have a pirate ship coming into the sector, so in 7 hours we're going to have to either hope that our friends here can fight off the pirates, or we're going to have to get out of Dodge. I think we got 3 other ships in the sector here, but 2 of them... Let's see, this civilian ship has guns, so they could fight off the pirates. So just looking at the stuff that's on top of the ship here, these guys have 2 shield generators, which are these guys here, and 2 guns, which are these guys here. So they should be able to fight the pirates. This guy also has 2 guns and a shield generator, so he should be able to help fight the pirates too. So as long as these 2 guys stay in the sector, we're probably in good shape, but we're going to want to keep a careful eye out and be ready to jump just in case when the pirates get into the system. Let's trade in the meantime. Trading also causes NPC ships to stay in the sector, which is useful if you want them to fight off pirates for you. So, what do we have that we can sell? We have 400 credits. Is there anything that we need to buy right now? Again, we could buy more infra blocks, but I'd rather save it for more kind of rare goods. We could think about buying more energy crystals at some point, but these are kind of expensive because they only have 2 of them on board. The Glory's Fall here has energy blocks available, and they have cheaper info blocks because they have a ton of them. They got 40. So maybe let's buy like 1 infra block from them just to speed things along. Let's see what the Ranger has. Pretty much the same stuff. So we didn't get any tech blocks here. So one thing that's useful to do if you know you're going into a space combat pretty soon, you can override your crew and have them sleep for a couple of hours. Like, so this is 5 hours, so I could have my crew sleep for, say, 4 hours, and they'll be well rested and ready to fight and deal with damage if they need to. We're not going to do that here because I'm just going to run away anyway, but if we're getting into a major space battle, that's usually a good idea. Another thing we can do in early game if we have the resources, even though we don't have shields yet, we could build extra hull stabilizers to shore up our ship and make it a little more durable. I think that's something we might invest in, although we're probably not going to get it done by the time the pirates get here. Let's see. So for that we need a little bit of extra hull space to build with. We're going to put our hull stabilizer right next to the other one over in the corner here. Okay. I'm going to seal off this little breach between the airlock section and the storage section, and then we're going to plunk down a hull stabilizer, and this is not going to be charged. It takes a while for the new hit points to be available, basically, after the hull stabilizer is built. So right now, it's not even built yet, actually, by the time the pirates got in the sector. Now when the pirates arrive, it'll pause the game, so we can kind of have a warning that something's about to happen. What we want to do is we want to prep for jump. That should recall all our guys. Let's go on normal speed here. We may want to draft Penny and draft our shuttle here and make sure she gets back on board the ship quickly. So we're going to redock the shuttle manually. It's going to continue going downward because it has to remaneuver for docking. That's okay. Hull breach. The pirates must be shooting at us. That's not great. They are taking hits from multiple other ships, though, so I think they'll be leaving the sector shortly. But let's get our guys back on board just in case. So speaking of hull breaches, we have a hull breach in the crew quarters section. What we can do here is we can go to the events view, and we can see immediately where the breach is. And I can click this to close off the different sections of the ship. Now, we haven't sealed off the bridge away from the crew quarters, and that's going to create a problem for us because this breach might cause the hyperdrive or the navigation console to end up being damaged. If that happens, we're not going to be able to fly the ship. So if the pirates continue shooting at us, we could be in big trouble. Let's see if we can get a door built quickly in order to mitigate that problem while they're working on repairing the hull. We can also manually manage hull repairs. I can click on this and click on the Jobs tab and then assign the maintenance task to anybody that's lit up here who has the appropriate skill. The skill here it shows is Construction. Let's have somebody who's already in a spacesuit with a high skill level fix it. And I think that's going to be Lenny. It's important to pick somebody who's in a spacesuit if possible, because that means they don't have to... okay, so the pirates contacting us, they're doing what's called a semaphore signal, telling us to shut down our hyperdrives. We're going to accept that, because that means the pirates won't shoot at us for a while, and they're still being shot at by the other guys. So they're going to try to call us. We can't answer at this point because we don't have an ops console, but they left the sector anyway because they were under pressure from the other two factions here. So we're okay. Somebody's already assigned to maintenance on this. That's Alain. He's going to get a spacesuit from the spacesuit locker over here, and then he's going to come back and fix the breach. Okay, we did okay here. We didn't suffer any major damage to the bridge. Our hit points are at, like, 2/3 maximum. I forgot to bring Penny back on board, so sorry about that, Penny. You would have died if we had to jump. Okay, so let's undraft and try to get back to normal operations here. Okay, so we have a bunch of stuff that's broken. This power node is broken, so anything that's tied to this power node is going to be without power until that gets repaired. I'm going to click the repair, and that'll set up a job that somebody will do as soon as they're available. Now that the breaches are all fixed, we can press this button to open all of our vents back up again. Unfortunately, we're having some power outage issues here. I think we might want to try to build a second generator if at all possible. We don't have any room in our industry section over here to build one, so we might have to build one temporarily over in storage here. It's going to cause some discomfort for our crew, but I think it's necessary to keep our ship functioning smoothly. The other problem that we're having currently is we don't have any infra blocks. One thing that we can do to try to save up power is we can stop our recycler. That'll prevent the recycler from using up energy, so the other ship systems should be able to recharge. There we go. Sometimes it takes a minute or two. Okay, yeah, so this generator isn't able to provide enough power for the rest of the ship, but it's not really enough to power the recycler. So with the recycler stopped, we should be okay for the moment. Let's try to get some more hull blocks over here, so that we can get another generator in play in the engineering section, instead of building one here. I'm also going to cancel this because I'd rather have a second generator than a stabilizer, and they both use infra blocks, which we're short on right now. Okay, we don't have enough oxygen, it says. That's probably because we just had a hull breach. That's okay. It should recover with time, hopefully. We'll have to keep an eye on it, though. And let's plunk down our second generator over here in the corner. And wall this up again. I can not build this here. Let's cancel that for a second. There we go. I guess it's having trouble with the move there. Okay. So now we got our second generator set up and ready to build. We just need 3 infra blocks. So we might have to, once our nodes are charged up here, you can see the storage, the amount of energy that's stored on the top of each node here. Once these are fully charged, we might do a little bit more recycling to try to get those infra blocks online. Okay, so in the morning we're going to recycle some infra scrap. I'm going to cancel the hull scrap for now because I think we can get by without it. Also look at our inventory and see what we have currently. We have half an infra block already constructed here, so this should be enough for 4 more infra blocks. Here we go. Okay, our second generator's come online. Let's link it into the grid here. And this can directly power the recycler. And it also provides supplementary power to the hyperdrive. Still salvaging here, I believe. Yes. Alright, I think that's going to be it for today's video. So we covered exploring derelict ships, we covered kind of early game space battles and how to avoid them, and we covered a little bit of crew management and fundamentals of shipbuilding. Hope you enjoyed the video, and hope you found it helpful. Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Let's start another research here before we wind up. I'm going to go with advanced research to kind of speed everything up. I think we're going to want to upgrade the generators soon, because we're running a little bit low on energy. Alright, let's save it. Thanks for watching.